I seek refuge in Allah from Satan, the accursed, with the name of Allah, the Compassionate, the Merciful. Peace be upon all the Holy Prophets, if Allah wills, what Allah wills. I have just come to see a very wonderful video in which Mr. Tariq Jamil of Tablighi Jamaat, he knows how to speak in a nice manner, but his speech is always devoid of truth. There is no truth in his speech most of the time. And the latest one that I am talking about it is the latest one in my knowledge, of course. The latest one is he speaks about the Mummy of Pharaoh. Number one point that he says is that Moses tells to God, "Oh God, why have you given 400 years of kingship to Pharaoh when he says that he is the Lord of the mankind?"
एक दफा अल्लाह ताला ने से मूसा अलैहिस्सलाम ने पूछा, या अल्लाह तूने फिरौन को 400 साल हुकूमत दी, तो वो कहता था तुम रब्बी मैं अना रब्बुकुमुल आला। ये दुनिया में एक इंसान आया है जिसने ये कहा अना रब्बुकुमुल आला, मैं ही सबसे बड़ा रब हूं। सजदे तो बड़े बादशाहों ने करवाए, लेकिन ये कहना कि मैं रब हूं, फिरौन।
And the question is, no Pharaoh was alive for 400 years. No Pharaoh was alive for 400 years. Not a single Pharaoh was alive for 400 years. Ramses II was the Pharaoh in whose palace Moses was brought up as a child. And his son Merneptah became the king when he was 60 years old. And he was drowned in the Red Sea when he was 80 years old, to which Pharaoh was 400 years old. And Pharaoh he's saying 400 years in a manner as if it was only one Pharaoh, but Pharaoh was not the name of any particular person. Pharaoh was the equivalent of saying king. So the king of Egypt was known as Pharaoh, but his name was, their names used to be different. One was Ramses II, in whose palace Moses was brought when he was 3 months old from the river Nile. And his son Merneptah was 60 years old when he became the king after Ramses died. And he was 80 years old when he was drowned in the Red Sea. Now, there was no Pharaoh 400 years old, number one. Number two, Pharaoh is not one person, but different pharaohs, the name of king, and there were different kings, and they were all known as pharaohs. Then he also says that every year on 15th March, every year on 15th March, some rats are let open. He is on the body of Pharaoh. They eat some of his flesh and rotten flesh, and then the flesh comes back again. It grows again.
है जिसकी लाश पर गोश्त तरोताजा है, तरोताजा लगता है अभी किसी ने इसको सुलाया, बल्कि उसकी लाश पर गोश्त बढ़ता रहता है, बढ़ता रहता है। हर साल 15 मार्च को उन्होंने वहीं उसी म्यूजियम में कुछ चूहे रखे हुए हैं जो उस पर छोड़े जाते हैं, जो उसका फालतू गोश्त नोच कर खा जाते हैं। फिर उसकी ड्रेसिंग करके दोबारा उसको शीशे में डालते हैं और पड़ा हुआ लगता है अभी कोई सोया हुआ आदमी है। बाल बिल्कुल सही, आंखें, हर शय बिल्कुल सही सलामत। वो लगता नहीं कि ये 6000 साल पुरानी मम्मी है।
So how can he justify this? Because Pharaoh's body is lying there for the last 3,300 years, around 3,300 years, and only about 100 and a few years before, these were discovered in Egypt, and the Holy Quran is the first book that said that their bodies have been preserved. So when nobody knew that the bodies have been preserved, nobody knew where these bodies were, who was letting loose the rats to eat the flesh of the Pharaoh? It is all nonsense that he is talking about, and people are so blindfolded, even not only the ordinary people in the street, but even the ex-Prime Minister of Pakistan, of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, is so ignorant about religion that he called this man to lead the funeral prayer of his wife. Allahu Akbar Kabira. How ignorant Muslims are. Even the person who can be the Prime Minister of a country, of an Islamic country, even he is so ignorant. He knows nothing about what Tariq Jamil is speaking about, and they only call these people to lead the prayers. God forbid, on the day of judgment, when Allah will say, why did you have these beliefs? They will say, because a very famous person, scholar, Tariq Jamil, told these things. Allah will say, this is the day when scholars will be known by the truthfulness of their knowledge and not by the sweetness of their voice. The sweetness of the voice, if it is not truthful, it is the sweetness not of their voice but the sweetness of their voice. I challenge 100 million rupees, Pakistani rupees, and anybody who can prove that Tariq Jamil is right in saying that Pharaoh ruled for 400 years. Number one, that there was only one Pharaoh. Number two, and when nobody knew about the mummy of Pharaoh, then from where he is saying every year on 15th March, every year on 15th March, rats are let loose on the body of Pharaoh. From where he has got all these points, if he can prove them right, 100 million Pak rupees. I know he has a lot of money, but I will also add 100 million rupees Pakistani currency to his fat bank, to his fat wealth balance, capital balance. With this, I take your leave and wish you a happy sleep. And if you were also one of his fans, I want you to reconsider and ask him for the truthfulness of his statement. If he can prove them, I will also become one of his fans. Otherwise, forget him. With this, I take your leave. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.